Madam President, I'd like to yield for a question from the senator from Wisconsin.
Senator from Kentucky, obviously, all of us have come down here to support, I think, your very legitimate request to have a legitimate question answered. I think you deserve those answers, and if not an answer from the White House, you at least deserve a vote. I started watching you here this morning. You started by 11:57. It's now past midnight, and I think my primary reaction is one of just being puzzled. I've been here for 2 years, never served in any kind of legislative body. Certainly came to the United States Senate thinking this was the world's greatest deliberative body. And what I found is a body that's just utterly dysfunctional. And even though this is actually one of the best examples of how this body ought to work, it's also an example of that dysfunction. I mean, I cannot believe that this issue has not been resolved within a half hour, within an hour. Just take a vote. You know, we have a number of our colleagues from the House coming here in support of the senator from Kentucky. The House is operating, I believe, as our founders intended. They are passing budgets. They're debating issues. They're passing real pieces of legislation that unfortunately are being dropped over here in the United States Senate, where those good pieces of legislation is dying. And that's a real shame. You know, for example, I serve on the Budget Committee of the United States Senate. I've been on that Budget Committee for 2 years. We have not yet voted on a budget in the Budget Committee. And this is, by the way, when this nation is facing a fiscal crisis unlike anything we've really faced in our history. We've racked up 4 years now where our debt exceeds $1 trillion. There's really no end in sight of that. We haven't even brought to the floor an appropriations bill all year long. How can we function as a body if this is how it operates? Now, a number of Republican senators joined the president at his invitation, his gracious invitation for dinner tonight. It was an excellent dinner. It was a genuine, sincere, open discussion of the fiscal problems facing this nation. Now, I was part of a group of 44 senators a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now, that also joined the president prior to the final debate on the first debt ceiling in the summer of 2011. The President of the United States leaving that meeting should have come away with a very strong understanding that those 44 Republican senators were incredibly sincere in their desire to work with the president, to work with our colleagues across the aisle, to solve these problems. I'll tell you, I'm one United States senator that ran for office not to become a United States senator, but because we're losing this country. We're bankrupting it. You know, one of the things when I'm talking around the country, I do make the point that fortunately, I don't know of any parent that would willingly max out their credit cards, get in debt way over their heads, never intending ever to pay it off, but fully intending to pass it off to their children and grandchildren. I don't know any parent that way, fortunately. But yet, collectively as a society, that is exactly what we are doing. You know, frequently in this political town, Republicans are accused of waging a war on women, waging a war on immigrants. None of that is true. What Washington is doing is we're waging a war on our children. We're mortgaging their future. It's absolutely immoral. Americans have got to stop and consider what it is we're actually doing to the future generations. So I certainly left the president, or the dinner with the president tonight. I think all of my colleagues did. I hope the president did. With this pretty strong sense, once again, that there's a great deal of sincerity, a great deal of desire to roll up our shirt sleeves, put down partisan bickering, put down partisan differences, work together to really solve this problem. I think there's got to be a realization that, you know, neither side's going away. If we're going to start solving these problems, we have got to start working together. We have got to return the United States Senate into that deliberative body that our founders intended it to be. We've got to be willing to be held accountable. We've got to take votes. It shouldn't be that hard. We shouldn't be afraid. Now, I'd ask the senator from Kentucky, as I understand this, again, just puzzling that we're here now after midnight. And again, I just applaud you for your resolve here. And that's why you see every member coming down here and providing the support. But I think all you wanted was either unanimous consent or possibly a vote on this simple question. Resolved, that is the sense of the Senate that, 1, the use of drones to execute or to target American citizens on American soil who pose no imminent threat clearly violates the constitutional due process rights of citizens. Seems like a pretty simple question. Seems like one that most United States senators would want to express their opinion by taking a vote or allowing this resolution to pass by unanimous consent. So I guess my only question is that really all you're looking for? Either an answer from the White House or just a simple unanimous consent agreement or a simple vote?
President, I thank you for the question from the senator from Wisconsin. And yes, we had two simple requests tonight. The first was for a vote on a non-binding resolution to express our opinion that it's unconstitutional to kill Americans on American soil. And that was denied by the majority party. The second request we've had in communication with the White House is for the White House to say or clarify their opinion that they're not going to be doing targeted drone strikes on non-combatants in America. We haven't had much success with either one. We will continue to ask that question. I've told them that I will remove myself from the blockage of John Brennan's nomination as soon as we get some clarification from the White House. I'm still hopeful in the morning that they will do that, and by doing that, we can move forward with it. But I've been more than willing to compromise because I don't think it's so much about John Brennan as it is about a constitutional principle. But I want the president to publicly acknowledge that the Fifth Amendment does apply to Americans in our country, and that we're not going to cherry pick when we apply the Fifth Amendment.